What's up, guys? I'm Kareth, and this clip is from Difficult Content, an interview podcast about Final Fantasy XIV. Make sure you hit the subscribe button below and click the link at the end for the full interview. Let's talk just a little about the controversy surrounding the race itself. We had 6 days of one of the hardest progs in Final Fantasy XIV history. Then, not long after the official broadcast ended, Unnamed cleared off stream. Everyone said, "Grats JP," and that was kind of that. Right up until all the screenshots and videos were leaked, and then all hell broke loose. Yoshi P stripped not only their title and weapon from them, but also their team's recognition of World First. It seems clear to me that a line has to be drawn somewhere when it comes to third-party tools, but since the World Race was never an officially sanctioned event, and previous World Races have been won with third-party tools, it also raises this question of who determines where that line's drawn. Is it Yoshi P? Is it the community? Is it only World Racers? As a participant in the race, where do you think we go from here, and where would you personally draw the line of what is acceptable and what isn't?
The acceptability line has to be driven from Square Enix. The reason why things are the way they are is because they like to do this song and dance where they just don't acknowledge the existence of these tools, which, emboldens people to make more and more tools that further trivialize mechanics. And even if people get banned at this point, they're already so integrated and accessible that I don't think banning is a sufficient barrier to entry for a lot of people. Because if you don't stream or have a personality tied to you publicly, then you can just make a new account. I don't know if you know this, we got flamed for not having quote unquote all 8 POVs available because people initially assumed incorrectly that our melees just weren't streaming. And because we had 2 people not streaming out of an 8-person group, they assumed that we had to be cheating. They are both streaming and the streams are public, and we put in a lot more effort to make people aware of this after people got upset. But I don't think there's any amount you can do as a community member to dissuade people. I just do not think it is possible for this to be some community driven solution. It has to come from Square Enix. As for me personally, I don't think you should really prog with anything other than the vanilla setup, though, of course, being that things are so unregulated right now, it does not shock me, and I don't think it should shock anyone that people that are trying to compete at the highest level have to take into account that their competition is going to use these tools, and as a result feel an immense amount of pressure to use them themselves.
Square Enix takes this puritanical, no tools whatsoever approach, which the rating community obviously rejects given the prevalence of ACT. Do you think that the Final Fantasy XIV community has grown too large with too many opposing viewpoints to even be able to self-regulate or come up with a community-wide consensus at all on which tools are acceptable and which aren't?
I don't think that that's something that's ever going to happen. I don't think that you're ever going to get the entirety of the community to line up on this. Everyone draws the line at different places because, obviously, as far as accessibility is concerned, FF14 is a very wanting game. Some people don't like talking about this, but triggers do actually help people that are hearing or visually impaired. In those cases, most people find the idea of triggers acceptable, right? Some people use reshade or G-shade, that thing. They'll use it to change the colors of the arena to help them see better because they might have a visual disability or they might be colorblind or something. That's all fine and good. But you're not going to get the community to holistically address each edge case and draw out what's acceptable and what's not. That's just not going to happen.
And then Yoshi P said in one of his posts that they would look into how to better handle the World Race in the future. What would be the ideal situation for Kindred or for yourself in how Square Enix incorporates the World Race into some level of official standing?
I'm not certain. I'd be shocked if they even do anything anytime soon. I do think that there should be proof standards. I think that the best thing they could do is draw up official proof standard and at least do something where they accept specific types of video proof. I'm not in the camp that people have to live stream. There's a group of people that think that because the World Race is an event that they are owed an audience to anyone participating, but I don't really think that FF14 is analogous to other sports. So, and some people don't want to sit there and be judged in the moment, and I understand that, but I do think some amount of video proof should be required, and potentially they could implement something to help. It's going to be impossible to fully verify the legitimacy of what's running on someone's computer.
Sure, because anything overlay based, right, won't necessarily show up on stream.
Yeah, there's obviously a lot of holes, but they're the only ones that could actually make standards or additional things that racers would have to run alongside the game to verify the integrity of their clear and actually get it to some semblance of acceptable. I think as long as you make the barriers to entry high enough, you could at least get rid of the more egregious things. Like ideally they get rid of Splatoon, but I'm pretty sure that's a pipe dream.
Yeah,
That would be
one of the worst.
that is one of the main concerning ones, especially when you consider that things like the Omega Trio happen like 14 minutes into the fight. Boy, that mechanic sure would be easy if you could just see the safe spots on the ground. Been ranting a bit on this, but I do think that whatever does get implemented, Square Enix has to be very, very clear and deliberate in what's allowed and what's not. And I know that's like their least favorite thing to do.
This is their favorite topic by far, right?
This is the consequences of their own actions because they've been ignoring it since The Realm Reborn. Back in the day, they offered to give a plugin API. And the thing about the plugin API is it does allow a line to be drawn and explicitly what they want third-party tools to be able to do. If they want something to be possible, there will be an API endpoint to do the thing. And if there's not an endpoint to handle that operation that you want to do, well, then that's not allowed. It's not the best, but it is more clear guidelines than what we have now. I don't think we're going to get an API, by the way. I think that's cool. At this point, they're way too invested in just trying to push responsibility off of them. So, like, realistically, what I would expect is whatever the minimal amount of effort is for them to allay community concerns for like a few tiers, that's probably going to be the solution that they go with.
Hope you enjoyed that. If you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button below and click this link right here for the full interview.